Welcome to another edition of Tech News this week. Now, the year is coming to an end, and it's a good time to actually not review the week, but to review the year. So, if I had to pick up the single theme of 2020, of course, it's from politics, from healthcare, from lifestyle. It is COVID, right? But when you bring tech into it, probably the biggest thing is that tech has triumphed over COVID. Tech has been the shield by which we could go forward, whether it was e-commerce during lockdowns, whether it was contact tracing. Tech is one thing that it, despite this tragedy, it helped us move forward. So if you look at if you analyze it individually one by one, then the first thing was collaboration. That is the first thing which really took off. It's like Zoom. It recorded huge growth. I mean, the if you look at the some of the segments, it was like 1,000% growth, right? So Zoom was the first thing that really took off. So it made it to the top 15 global sites in terms of traffic, right? And a lot of first time users got onto video collaboration for because of Zoom. And it's not just about Zoom. Thanks to that, all the collaboration players have got their act together, and it doesn't matter, all the biggies like Cisco, Microsoft, Google, all of them came out with their collaboration tools. They ramped them up, they upgraded them, they made it better. So thanks to COVID and Zoom, now we have a good bouquet of collaboration tools. And the thing that has this has the first thing that I would say, smart work from home, SWFH. So it was smart home and WFH have got together to become SWFH. So this has also been made thanks to the collaboration industry. So down to WFH, it's mind-boggling the amount of posts that have become permanent. If you look at companies, every company, IT company is making thousands of posts permanent. So now the WFH culture is here for good. And going forward, this is going to affect, it is going to affect everything. It is going to affect the way we operate. It is going to affect real estate. Big offices are no longer the in thing. It is like your good, big, smart homes are the in thing. And anyone can work from anywhere in the world. So in the olden days, you needed a big company. You needed to have a central headquarters. That's no longer. Today, you could be, one of the biggest companies in the world, and all your employees could be spread all over the world. There's good news for India too, because this will transform small towns. People in small towns will not have to travel to the city where it's expensive for them. In the same salary, they can continue in their cheaper towns. So this is going to lead to a great lifestyle change. And the second thing of work from home is the OTT industry. I mean, if you look at the way the OTT industry took off, again, you had millions of first-time users. People got onto Netflix, Disney, Hotstar, so they have seen tremendous growth. And again, it's very difficult for Silicon Valley to get first-time users, but in this year, they got first-time users for almost anything. I mean, probably the best example is you look at IPL. The stadiums were empty. Still, it was one of the most successful IPLs ever. Despite the empty stadiums, if you look at Google search during that period, IPL beat COVID or Corona and pandemic as the top Google search topics. And they made good money, and the viewership was great. So basically, that means virtual events also. Like cinema halls and offline events, sporting events will go down. Virtual events and OTT are seeing a rise. Another thing which collaboration helped was online education. Now, when you talk of online education, it is not just video collaboration, right? It is a host of things. So it's like everyone got a crash course in online education, and some of this is going to become permanent. Online education, offline education cannot compete with online education in many aspects. One of them is costs. Online education per student cost will be very less. Second, it can cater to remote places. And finally, you can give ultra specialized courses. You can give like hundreds of specialized courses, and you can update the syllabus regularly. Another thing that got an upgrade was bandwidth. So maybe not in India, but 5G implementation continued all over the world. And now satellite broadband is a serious topic. Airtel also had a tie-up for satellite education, and Amazon Kuiper project is looking at satellite broadband. A couple of days back, the EU announced, and of course, the first satellite broadband service is going to be Starlink. And almost 1,000 satellites have already been launched as we go into 2020, and beta versions have started. So satellite internet will, again, it will be available to anywhere in the world, everywhere. And also this will help the mobile workforce. So it's like the mobile workforce crossed 1 billion workers sometime back. 2 billion, now we're going towards 2 billion. So that is going to be another change. So all this leads to the cloud. So when you look at the cloud world is billions of access devices and hundreds of billions of IoT devices connected to millions of data centers. So this is we have already entered the cloud world. So that upgrade has already taken place. The second thing is, even India has got serious about technology, IT. I mean, we were known for IT services, right? But now we are getting into everything. After the China tension, we have been banning Chinese apps in many stages. Now, this is going to give a fillip to Indian apps. How much, that remains to be seen. Even if you look at the budget, the union budget is talking of AI, it is talking of data centers. So right, and another thing that happened this year was, if you look at mobile manufacturers in the world, China was number one and Vietnam was number two. But now India has emerged as the second largest mobile manufacturer. And of course, Apple has come. So Make in India is actually getting a big fillip. And also Keep in India. Because Keep in India means data. Now everyone is talking of data sovereignty and data geography. And we are a country of 1.3 billion people. So we're going to need a huge amount of data centers and hyperscale data centers. And also talking, like sometime back I talked of services, TCS became the most valuable IT services company in the world. So that also happened. But of course, if you look at from the Indian point of view, the biggest story was Reliance and Jio. Now, for the last couple of years, Reliance has been shopping in everything. So if you break it down, whether it's the OTT space, it is the VR space, SaaS space, Reliance now, if you take the top 10 IT, terms or this, Reliance has a hand in everything. And on top of that, now Jio, at least a dozen companies, including Facebook, Google, and all, they have invested in Jio. So Jio is positioning itself as a top global tech company. It sounds like funny, but it is positioning, because also when 5G comes, you might expect a Jio monopoly initially. And 5G is not about mobile phones. 5G is about smart cities. 5G can power smart industries, smart utilities, smart homes, and smart cars. So that is why Jio is big. In fact, there is something called the Pwc Brand Index, and it comes every 2 years. And in 2018, Reliance was not there in the top 100. And you'll be surprised to know that it has made a debut at number 2 position. Apple is one. So it is ahead of Microsoft and Google. So that is a kind of hype that is being created. And it is also in the process of buying out Big Bazaar and Co. So Reliance has gone to the next level this year. And of course, another thing was healthcare. Healthcare was caught unawares at the beginning of the pandemic, but now it is getting upgraded. Technology is coming into healthcare in a big way. In West, they are getting robots, they are getting robotic assistants, telemedicine, which again, like WFH, telemedicine technology has been around for 10-15 years, but nobody was doing it. Now telemedicine has also taken off. AI, the use of AI, robotic surgery, everything. But of course, the biggest success story is the COVID vaccine. Now, there have been, for example, if you take the smallpox vaccine, smallpox has been around for thousands of years, and the vaccine was in development for hundreds of years. Of course, finally, we have managed to make vaccines in 10, 20, 30 years. But the COVID vaccine was like made in 6 to 8 months flat. There is a new technology called mRNA vaccine, messenger RNA vaccine. So the mRNA vaccine was created, designed on the computer, and it was manufactured by the machine. And it was made in 6 to 8 months flat. And Pfizer says it can do 1.3 billion vaccines by 2021 end. And it's not though. There are 5-6 players which are going to come out with the COVID vaccine. The biggest miss was probably China. Now, if you look at China, China is the second largest economy, and it's going to be the number one economy of the world. I mean, it's very tough for that not to happen, despite dipping. But it was also the number 2 IT superpower. Now that it has got a big flip. So, for example, if you take Huawei, has faced a lot of security issues. First from India. This is back in the Manmohan Singh government, not just in the Modi government. And Donald Trump had kept it out of the Clean Network Initiative. So despite that, you will be surprised to know that 5G in China is going full steam ahead, and Huawei is the backbone of that. And on top of that, it is number two in global shipments in mobiles. It is, you're right. It is number one is Samsung, number two is Huawei. So you can imagine that despite this drawbacks, it's doing so well. Had that not happened, it would have been the top global tech company in the world, and it would have implemented 5G all over the world. Another thing is TikTok. Like, Facebook touched 2.5 billion active users. Then in its stable, Instagram and WhatsApp, they crossed 1 billion, and YouTube also touched 2 billion users. But these are all American companies. TikTok was heading to be the first 1 billion users, but again, it has fallen thanks to bans by India and China. Same thing with PUBG. PUBG was a sensation in India. Again, it got banned. And also, there's the Trump administration had banned TikTok and WeChat. Now, WeChat is being used for online payments in the US. So most Chinese apps do well in China, but this was one which was gaining traction. That has also gone. Even Alibaba's Ant Group was becoming the most high-profile IPO when it was pulled back at the last moment. So, and in fact, if you look at mobile manufacturing, Xiaomi is now third. So first is Samsung, second is your Huawei, third is Xiaomi, and fourth is Apple. So that is where it was going, but it has suffered a big setback this year. And another big story was big tech versus big government. Suddenly a slew of antitrust cases have come. Now, for those who know, antitrust cases means you're a monopoly and you should be broken up. So if you look at Standard Oil Company 100 years back, it was such a big company. It was broken into 8-10 parts, and four of those companies are still in the top 10. It's been that dominant. So a slew of antitrust cases. So for example, 46 states and the FTC have filed a case against Facebook, right? Then 38 states have filed a case against Google, and 10 more states have done a separate case against Google. So Google and Facebook are facing around 4 or 5 antitrust cases. In fact, one of the antitrust cases is that Facebook and Google have made an illegal tie-up. So and in fact, it's not just the antitrust cases. US Congress called in the heads of Twitter, Apple, Amazon, and Facebook. And EU is planning to make 2021 its biggest year, where it's going to crack down on data and the way these tech giants operate data. So that would be interesting. And also, like a lot of their small news, like Bitcoin finally in March fell below $5,000, and recently it crossed $20,000 in a high. Then contact tracing was introduced. Now there are a lot of privacy issues, but it's here. We can't help it. The citizens will be monitored. Then in an interesting thing, Waymo is owned by Google. The California state has allowed driverless taxi services. They are being called robo-taxis. Then if you look at, the people of the year, I'd say one of the best performance of the year was Elon Musk. If you look, SpaceX, it docked with the International Space Station, becoming the first private company to do so. Then Starlink satellites I mentioned, they touched 1,000 and they started beta services. Then Tesla has emerged as the most valuable car company in the world, and it has crossed a market cap of $500 billion. And it has been showing consistent profits, and it is being put on the S&P index. They even sold their millionth car. As far as Hyperloop, it was all theory. People are trying, but they have gone ahead and construction has started under the Las Vegas Convention Center. Then their Neuralink also took off, and finally Solar City has announced that it is giving the cheapest solar power in the US at that scale. All this is done by companies of Elon Musk. So, and he also created waves by getting out of California, calling them fascist and high taxes and all. And he said he's gone to Texas. And the best part is after him, HP is headed for Texas, and so is Oracle. So that has been another big trend of the year, that big giants are fleeing California. So let's see how that changes. But finally, if you look, if there's one common thing, is that Silicon Valley rules. So Silicon Valley, other industries may have. Silicon Valley now has, as I've said, whether it's education, OTT, film industry, virtual events, now Silicon Valley has taken over the world. It's very paradoxical that tragedy happened, the antitrust cases happened, but Silicon Valley has taken over the world. They have scored record profits. If you look at the profits, sales, it's been a path-breaking year for them. And as I said, the biggest thing is they've added millions of new users, OTT, e-commerce, millions of new users, and getting new users was the toughest part. Once you get them, then you keep most of them. And even in terms of valuation, Amazon crossed 1 trillion, Apple crossed 2 trillion. Then when it comes to cloud, again, they have all become cloud players. You have AWS, you have Microsoft Azure Cloud. So, if you look at Silicon Valley, its evolution has been spectacular. So first it was about products, like desktops and accessories and PCs and laptops. So it was like hardware. Then, you had the software era, right? Then now you have services. So going in the future, everything is going to be available on the cloud. So even like hardware and software is not that, it is cloud and services. So this year they have repositioned themselves. So it may have been a bad year for most from the world, but for technology, it was a great year. And 2021 may be even a greater year for technology. So on that note, I would like to conclude the last tech news this week of the year. And have a great evening, have a great weekend, and Happy New Year, everyone.